All right. Let me grab this thing. Connor, were you also gonna speak a little bit, or was it just?
I just haven't had a game really to ourselves.
Sorry?
I didn't have to introduce ourselves.
Yep.
So we're there, but
Yep. Yeah. We can do that.
I wasn't sure what.
Here, you can come up to the stage and take the microphone, or you know what? You might even be able to take this.
Are you this?
Actually, or just take it.
Oh, yeah. Was it? Are you saying that? Nice.
No, you're gonna introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. I had it in a section like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fine. You can introduce yourself now.
Right. Hey guys, my name is Connor, and I am the events director for the Queen's Game Development Club. Today we're going to be doing a Godot game engine workshop, showing you the basics and how to get started. The workshop is going to be run by Noah. He is the club's co-chair. So we're glad you're here. So I think we're going to get started.
Yeah, and before we get started, I'd also like to quickly mention that we're currently recruiting for a team, a game development team. So it's going to be of like roughly 10 people. I've already interviewed Jaden. Sorry here. And yeah, so I mean, maybe I can pull up well, actually, let's go to, do you have it set up? You do. Perfect. Why don't we take this opportunity to watch a great video? I want to make sure the audio goes through. So can I like add things on the fly to OBS? Okay, yeah. So I can add a desktop audio, right?
Where are you sharing yourself?
Hmm?
Oh, sure. Wait, what are you sharing?
I want to add the audio for the desktop. Oh, right. Okay, perfect. So yeah, let's play this. Wait, maybe I have to go to my channel. This says it best. Yeah. Yeah, don't worry about it. Okay. Yeah, I think otherwise this is sort of like the first general meeting, let's say, for our club. And so we're choosing this slot to host a workshop, but other slots might just, we could just hang out and build games together more casually. Um, yeah. And we'll be holding a game jam next semester. So stay tuned for that. Yeah. And I think that's all for that there. So we can kind of get started. So 2 people have laptops out. So for those of you, Do you have the GitHub link that I sent in the hashtag workshop channel? Because if you're planning on, I guess, actively following along, that would be the easiest way. So yeah, I think I sent it in resources. So right here. Yeah, do you guys have that cloned? Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah, so a good thing to get started doing would be to sort of make sure that we can get the project actually running. So if you go into the cloned thing, you'll see there's a README file, and this sort of gives you instructions on what to do. So this stuff you've already done. You'll need to make sure to run git submodule update init. So because there's this folder here, which is a git submodule. And so if you try to do stuff before you run that, it won't work because you're missing files. Yeah. And, oh, interesting. Okay. It actually should also still work, I think, for Mac, because I see you guys have Macs. Basically, there's a command here where it goes scons platform equals Windows, so I think it probably would just go platform equal Mac OS. Yeah, and I think what it'll do is on this machine, it's going to use Visual Studio, which comes bundled with a C++ compiler, but on your Mac, it's going to use Xcode. Scons, like under the hood, when you run this, it'll find Xcode, use some stuff from there. So that should probably work. I haven't tested it though, so you'll see. Yeah, so once you're done that, and I've already done that, you'll also need to create this new file called gdexample.gdextension, and then throw it in this demo folder, and then in the bin. And so you can see I have it right there. And so the content of that file is just in between these guys. So it's all of that, and then you would copy that and then throw it in here. And so once you kind of have cloned the submodule and then you've got this file, all you would have to do is run this. And what you would do for that is you'd find the folder. So I'm going to go into, this is where I have it. If you just go into the File Explorer and then type command, you can open a command prompt in that folder, and then you would go scons there. And so basically you're running scons from the root directory. And then it'll do the stuff. Now, scons is also a thing you need to install, and that's why I said, do you have Python? So the way to install scons is you just go python -m pip install scons. So scons is literally a Python module, which I find kind of funny. That's how we're compiling the code here. So yeah, that should be, and so for me, it looks like it just, or well, looks like it worked, I think. Right. Yeah. Oh, we have errors actually. So really targets. Yeah. I think what we're gonna do is probably, you shouldn't get the issue I just got. I think that's just a me problem. So I'm gonna see about fixing that real quick. Right. I think I just forgot to remove something from the code, which was this. So when I say remove something from the code, basically I have like two folders here. One of them is the one that you guys would have cloned, which is this one. And so that has the complete code. And then the other folder is I took some of the code and just literally deleted it because we're going to be coding it live again. And I think that's the best way to go through it. So I got that error because I just forgot to delete some of it. All right, it looks like it's working. So you'll know it works when it says done building targets and it didn't say error. So now that that's done, you just, once you run SCons, then you just open Godot. Just to also communicate what exactly is happening here. With Godot, there's like 3 different ways you can make projects. You can write GD script files, you can use C#, and then you can also do what I'm doing today, which is write something called a GD extension, which is a C++ file. And so there are all ways to just sort of do the same thing. I did it this way because I didn't want to learn GD scripts, because it's like this language that's just for Godot. But also, learning GD script doesn't seem to be hard. It just looks like Python. So if you know Python, you know GD script, apparently. So yeah. So if everything's good, basically this should be a game that does absolutely nothing. Oh, so I forgot to change one thing, which is this mouse cursor. So I'll just undo that change as well real quick. So we'll just do that. Close. So I think I'm at a blank slate, right? If you guys have been running it, then you'll have the project. So yeah, not really sure where to start. So I'm just gonna look at. I'm gonna have both of these things open here and sort of figure out what the most interesting thing would be. In fact, maybe, yeah, that's what I'll do. So
I don't know if it was this week, but I'm running the demo selected for there.
really, okay. So let me open up the GitHub and just double check what's going on there. So we go demo. Okay, so I think what happens is the demo bin folder probably only exists after you run scons. Have you run that yet? Okay.
Start to make the file pull up /data. It's put before the.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that's my error. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna try to do the most simplest thing. So with Godot, basically, in running this workshop, I didn't know Godot as of like a week ago. So what this workshop is it's me reiterating the process of how I learned how to implement what I implemented. And in doing that, I'm going to showcase kind of like strategies of how to generally take something that you don't know and then learn that thing. So basically, this was a new interface to me, and I went around and explored. So the first thing I really wanted to do was add a character. So I've used Unity before. Has anybody not used Unity, I guess? Okay. And in terms of game engines overall, okay, 0 game engines. So for me, when I was doing the exploratory work in Godot, it was I had a little bit of a leverage point because I had already used Unity before. And so between the two game engines, there's these similar kind of points. So game engines in general, they kind of work where you just have these, like a collection of objects that exist in the world, and then each object has a script attached to it. And then the script outlines basically some sort of, you know what, we're going to the chalkboard. It's going to happen. Getting rid of this. So so these are all of your objects in your world, right? And then basically each one has a script attached to it. And then the script has some code. And then this code kind of outlines how that object interacts with the world around it, right? So we'll just call that interaction. And let me erase some of this. Each one of these scripts outlines something called, like they'll have some functions in them. And so they'll have, these aren't the actual names, but they'll have like function begin. And then they'll have like, we'll call it loop. I think these are similar to like Arduino or something. And then they might have like function, I don't know, end or something. And so then each of these would have some code in them. And so this is like your script. And I don't know how the hell to get rid of this stuff. We'll deal with it. So when we talk about interaction and how the script is defining interaction, like this code here, all the code here would be what would define the interaction. And so as an example, you can have the player object, they would interact with like an obstacle in the world. So the player might check, am I colliding with the wall in front of me, or like any wall at all in the world? Or in the player script, you'll often have movement code. So in this loop, basically what you're going to have is something like, if press A, right? And then when they press A, you go forward, right? So you would go this. So the idea of this is just, it refers to the thing that the script is attached to. And so you would go this.set position. And then you'd be like hold position plus some sort of delta. And the delta is how much you move every time you press A. Now, another thing to sort of talk about here, because these scripts, unless you're, they basically, like they don't exist in a void, in a vacuum. They exist in the engine. And so the engine code is basically like this program, right? The engine is like the substrate that you're writing your game in. And so basically the way it works is you write like all your code. We didn't write this, but this is your engine. There's going to be in the engine some like init code, right? And then there's going to be, in Godot, it's called, I think, the main loop. And so, every program we write, starts in the main function. So this is like your main. I'm just trying to illustrate how the code in the script gets executed and when precisely. So in the main loop, what's going to happen is you're going to be like 4 objects in world. And then in Godot, the actual name of this is called underscore process. So in here, in like our main program, we go main loop, 4 objects in world, and then for every object, it just goes underscore process. And so that's how scripts work. This is like the basics of the game engine. You just create a list of things that exist, and for each thing, you define the underscore process function, which says that, which gets called in the engine's main loop. And so the engine's main loop is running at like 60 frames per second, basically. And that's the rate. That tells us basically, it gives us like, well, it's important because in underscore process, I think it takes a parameter. So it takes like a delta. And so what this delta is it's piece of time, and it says the amount of time that has passed since the last time process was called. So the question is, like, why do we care about the delta, and why did I mention that the main loop is called at 60 frames per second? It's because if we're moving, if we're in our loop, right, and then we're saying if press the button A, move character forward, let's say we wanted to move the character forward at a specific amount of meters per second, like 10 meters per second, we need to know about delta and 60 FPS in order to do the math for that. So if my function loop is called 60 times every second and I want them to move 1 meter per second, within the underscore process, I'm not adding 1, I'm adding 1 over 60. And the way you do that is because delta equals 1 over 60. So all you do, and what you typically do, is you'd be like player, dot set position, and then you'd be like the current position plus delta times some sort of like speed or whatever. And so that's like, I guess I can write that right now. So we'll add a player. And so right here, the scene view on the left, this is like our list of all the objects in the world. So in Godot, the list is a little more structured than just like a flat list. It's actually a tree. And so I think it's called the scene tree specifically. And so this is the root node. And then I have one node here called the_game. So before I add the character, I'll just give a little bit more background on GD extensions. So what we have here is a pairing of, we have a pairing of a CPP and H file. And these the H file would be better to look at. And rather, let me go. Right, so in our H file, I define the _game class. And what that means is our GD extension is defining a specific type of object. So another common thing about game engines is that, yes, you have this list of things in the world, but all the things in the world have they can take on a specific kind of thing. And then those different kinds of things give you preset functionality. So, if I go hit the plus button, I'm now able to add any of the preset kinds of things. And so there's like one called sprite. And a sprite, we're kind of all familiar with that. It's just like an image. And sometimes they're animated well, I guess most of the time. So we can add a sprite 2D here, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to give it a name because, we do that. So we'll call that the player, and I'll spell it correctly. But sorry, I was still trying to kind of say this. So when we define class the game here in our GD extension, we're creating a new kind of thing, is what I was getting at there. And so the game is an instance of the game kind of thing. So we've added our player, and now I'm going to do the movement code. And well, before that, I'll give it like an image. So Godot is also, I guess, in like game engines too, are pretty easy for this, or pretty good for this rather. But like they just have drag and drop. So if I take an image here and just drag it on the player, I get a purple screen, but that's because it's really large. But here's our mascot. And so because it's so large, because this is like a 2048 pixel image, I'm going to scale it down. So that's like another one of the very common things, like for game engine objects, all of the kinds of things have different functionalities that you get, but there's one functionality that most things always have, which is like called a transform. And so, over here I drew all the objects, but like they're positioned somewhere in the world. So a transform is just where is the thing, but it's also the rotation of it plus the scale of the object too. So I'm going to go into the transform here and then just change the scale down to like 0.05. And that changed both X and Y, so we're good there. So now we have our player. And so when I was saying that all objects in the world have a script attached to them, that's what you see people typically do. The way I've coded this is not that way. I actually put all the code in the game. And what I did is the game, I made everything a child of the game, which since this is a tree structure, we can do. And then I queried the childs from within the game. And then basically the game knows about everything in the world. And so it just gets to kind of like master hand arbitrate how everything functions. So it's kind of like the same thing, except you just take all the scripts and then you put it in one place. And there is a reason I did that, which I may get to explaining. But so we're here. So yeah. So like I said, you have those like kind of, I talked about 3 functions. I said there was a begin, loop, end. So I only really have 2 here. So this one is the begin one. And then this one is the loop one, as I said. And yeah, that you have the delta there. This one we'll get to later for input. So in loop, well, presumably here we'd move the player if they press A. So we'll get to that. But as I just said, I was going to do this kind of query thing because the game can't move the player if the game doesn't have access to the player. So in this one, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to, and this is a, well, let me just write out the line and then I'll talk. So. All right. So what I've done here is this is an assignment expression, right? And I assign something to player. But player doesn't actually exist. And so that's like a kind of coding style I do. I'll write out lines, and then afterwards I'll actually create the thing that I just said existed. So the player is basically going to be, and so that tree, right, of all the objects in the world, the type of those is called a node. And what's actually happening here is a little more kind of complicated.
Or the library.
Oh, right, yeah, you're right, because we cropped it, so I'll uncrop it. So correct. So basically, like you have node, right? And this is, like, let's say this is a node. And then let's say this one is a sprite 2D. The types of things in the world follow an inheritance structure. So a sprite 2D is a node. And so that's just like a classic computer science idea. And then game engines really exploit the hell out of that. So in our code, I'm saying it's a node, but really it's a sprite 2D. But we're allowed to do this because of inheritance. So not sprite 3D, not doing 3D today. So player exists now, and then the get node function, this is a function of, I mean, if we're being really explicit, it's a function of the object we're in. So the ready function on the game has a function called get node, and we're calling that. Okay, so who knows C++ here? You. Okay. So basically, you know what who knows C sharp? This looks a lot like C sharp, right? I think that's in, like, if you look at some Unity scripts, I think you see stuff like that. So, it's what that's called is a template. I think the purpose of this is not to learn C++, so if you guys have any questions, I can answer them, but otherwise I'll just let it be. So yeah. So this should like already work, but let me just keep writing, and then we'll test to see if it actually does something after. So yeah, I'm just literally writing out what I wrote on the blackboard. So I think that's that, and then we can say the speed is going to be something like 1 meters per second, as I said. That's probably going to be slow because I'm pretty sure what's happening here is this set position and get position functions are working in units of pixels. So this would actually be 1 pixel per second, which is probably pretty slow. So maybe we'll like say 10 of those per second. Yeah. And then, yeah. So, right. So there's some kind of this, actually, let's make this interactive. So what's wrong about this line, Lily? Wait, there's no what? Brackets?
I know that's how it works in Unity. There's a delta time times speed, and then you add the player characters.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So basically, in C++, it has a particular precedence. Like whenever you have an operation, there is a precedence that it always follows. So multiplication will happen first, and then addition.
Adding a vector and a number.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, the position is a vector, and then this one's just a scalar. So that's not going to work, which means I need to say like there's a movement direction, and that's going to be our vector. So we need to make that. And so, if they pressed A, the movement direction is forward. So we'll make it that. And I guess it's kind of weird, right? So like our game right now is just this. So we don't really know if we're top down. We don't know what's going on if it's like side scroller. So let's just say we're top down. And so A is going to actually be up rather than, let's say, forward. That got to be flipped. Yeah, the good thing is if you do know C#, I think C++ looks pretty similar. So yeah, this kind of looks good to me. So now we just need A pressed. And I think I'm going to be able to steal that from like the other one. So if I go here, yeah. So, all right, I'm going to steal it. I'll have to steal it from the Git code because I deleted some stuff before that. So we're just going to go here and then browse an older version of the repo. So it has some stuff here for that. So if we go here, if we go to the input, I think it's like, yeah, it's here. So, right, it should be this one. Take that. And then go here. So basically, oh, right. Yeah. So, okay. This is a little bit of a different sort of, this is different than Unity, what's happening here. So there's this function. So when I wrote like that, there was the begin loop and then end. Godot has this other one called input. And so basically, if you come over here, let's like shift the main loop up. Get input. So the main loop will go and get the input, and then it will basically, as it gets the input, inputs come in as events. So you get like, I guess instead of get input, we'd go be like, or, you know, because it does have to get it, but then for all input events, and then for each one of those, it's going to call, well, I guess it's going to go for all input events and then for all objects. So we have a double for loop here, which is kind of lame. And then it's going to call the object. And this is kind of small, so I'm a little sorry about that. But the idea is there. So in our main loop, we get all the input, which gives us a list of all input events, and then we go through all of the events, and then for each of those, we're going to go through all the objects so that we call the dot event. And so that's dot input here. So the OBS. Yeah. It is what it is. I'll write in larger text for all more additional ones. So yeah. Yeah. So this gets all input events. And it's a lie when I said that there's like this single block that gets the input. The way it actually works is you register like a handler function to, like if you're doing it on Windows, you register like a function to Windows. You tell it, hey, here's a function. Whenever you get an input event, I want you to call me. And then within that, then that would go and dispatch to our object script event thing. So this thing is getting, I mean, I'm just making this assumption. I haven't looked at Godot, but I'm pretty sure this is getting all the input events as they come, like as fast as Godot can give it to us. So So yeah. So what we're going to have to do is we're basically going to have to do some accounting here, which won't be too difficult, I think. So we're just going to basically say, because we're only doing this for like one key, so this is really easy. So we're going to be like, is it, a pressed is actually going to be stored in our object, right? And the font here is kind of too big. And then so every time we get an event, we're going to update a pressed, which means here, right, we're reading from thing. So this block is done. Now we just need to make sure we have our input handled. So yeah. So this is some jiggery pokery. And then we get the key event. Yeah. Then they say get key label, and then you can get the Unicode or something. So we'll comment out that, but it tells us how to do this. So I think we can just say if I'm going to get the Unicode because that seems like what we want. So if it's equal to A, I guess, or I don't know which one it's going to give us. So we'll test for both A and lowercase a. That'll work. And then need to do that. And then it looks like what we need to do, it looks like, right. Make sure I get that correct. So now we need to figure out, because this is a key event, we know it's A, but did they press it down or up? We don't really know. So now is where I'm going to, and this is sort of where I told you at the beginning of this workshop, where I was going to teach my process, right? So this code I'm writing right now, I've never written this before. I'm actually just doing this right now because the sample app I had didn't actually implement like, left, right, up, down. So I'm actually live demonstrating my learning process. So I have this question. I'm like, hey, did they press it up or down? And what I tend to do nowadays is I just go and do a general regular expression over the entire code base for this class, input event key. And then, so the only hits we get are, and this is because this is not set up for general regular expression search, like this repo setup I have on my machine. Generally, this would work. Generally, you would find the code you wanted. And in fact, if I just go to, and the thing I'm searching is Godot-CPP. So that's when you're writing GD extensions, Godot-CPP it's a GitHub repo online that I can pull up now. It's basically the bindings. So this is like the glue. So when you're writing a GD extension, this is the glue that lets our extension talk with Godot. And so the class type here I care about is defined as part of that glue. So, I can search in here for it, and then I'd get it. Right. So it's only really, yeah, right. So the reason we're not getting it here in the repo is because this repo, the way it works, it's so funny. I mean, it's funny, but it's efficient. They generate a bunch of files. So the definition of this class is in a generated file, which means our GitHub search isn't going to find it. But luckily, the generated files are all on here. And so I'm actually just going to find it. And it's kind of a little bit of luckily these files are named really conveniently. So if I go input event key, it's here. And so basically, look at that. We have get, well, you can set pressed, but I think there's some getter functions in here. Get key code. Hmm. And yeah, like it doesn't look like this actually has what we need. So this is part of the learning process too. Sometimes you'll go down a path and it won't be the right path. So I know of another path here that we can take, and it is basically or maybe I wasn't looking hard enough. It might actually, I'm just going to take a gander. All right. Interesting. So this is also part of my process. It's called taking guesses, like sensible guesses. So I'm guessing that there's going to be a variable name in this class called pressed. And it turns out that IntelliSense verified that for me. So that's another thing. Like if you get IntelliSense set up, you take your guesses, it will verify your guesses quickly. So pressed is what we want. So all we have to do is actually just set this a pressed equal to that, and then we're good to go. So this should work, I think, right? So the process I have right now requires that I need to use Godot and then run the compile, which is lame, but it works. And don't fix what's not broken. So, so you get all these errors, right? And you're like, oh gosh, what do we do? And basically, it just says something is not a member of something. So those kind of error messages mean I'm missing an include file because stuff isn't defined. So we got to add some stuff here. Workshop live, but that's interesting because when I deleted my code, I never deleted any of the include files. So, right, this isn't an include error. This is actually a different error. So what this error is saying is that, well, I already read it. Set position is not a member of Godot node, but that's actually sensible, right? Because as I explained before, you have this inheritance structure. So you have node, which is the most general kind of thing, and then you have a sprite 2D. And sprite 2D has the set position, but node doesn't. And so basically, that's our issue. When I said it was okay to define it generally, it is, but then if I want to use the specific features, I have to do something specific. So there's two approaches here, and I'm just going to do the most sensible one, which is just say up front, it's going to be a sprite 2D. So you change it there, and then here, I change it there as well. And so now, hopefully those errors don't show up. Okay, so this is a different error, which means we solved the problem, but we're not done yet. So it basically says key event. Okay, so undeclared identity. So I think this is an include issue now. And it is. So that file that we were just looking at, input event key, this is the one we need to include. Okay. Oh no. Press is not a member. So our guess is incorrect. So IntelliSense was lying to us. I wonder if the key code is what we want. And key might be one of these things that's I wanted that to want this to work. So that's this one. Maybe it. So my guess here is that key and the key code might be something like A up or A down. And if that's the case, then you wouldn't need a pressed state on an input event key. So if we can figure out where key is, oh, here we go. Right. So these are your key codes, which doesn't seem to be, but maybe there's,
For the E.
oh, key up. All right, that's just, I was looking for something like key A up or something.
Oh.
Yeah. So this at least.
In the stage chat.
Yeah. Okay.
Find the dots.
Stage chat here. Stage open chat. So key T key event. Oh, event is input event key. Oh, okay. So yeah, I see what's going on here. So we have an input event, and then we have an input event key. So the input event key only specifies the key, and then the input event specifies the state change. So we need to be looking at input event. So it should just actually be here. So it's probably this event pressed, I guess. But we can verify that by looking at our files. Should be high. Input event. Input events. Pressed. Is pressed. I guess we want to call it is pressed. All right. So, yeah. Hooray. So now we can open up Godot again and see if our moves when we press A. Oh, A is also like it should make us go left, not up. Oh, right, it filtered it. All right. So now we're just not seeing the character at all anyways, which is a different problem, it seems. And I think the way to fix that is probably going to be if we just add a camera. Like I found that we had to do that. Oh, you know why? Okay, so the reason this is happening is because the project I have up on the GitHub has two scenes, which is another thing. So that's like another sort of common idea that the engines do. They'll have different scenes, and then typically people will do this, I suppose, to make different levels, and they'll put each level per scene. And so the idea is that you can switch scenes and then you would switch levels, right? So it makes intuitive sense to have your main menu as like one scene and then the game as another. So there is a main menu scene in this project. So maybe what we do is we just delete it, right? So just don't save. And then if we run it, no main scene, yeah, select burns. So now we can see the thing. Oh, look at that, it moves. Hooray. But it's also going down and not even up. So everything is like not the way I expected it, but it works. So, and it's pretty slow. But all right, so we have that. We have something. And now we chug along and ask what other different things that we can do. So, you know, I wonder if I can open up two projects at the same time. Probably. If I just run another instance of Godot. So we can look at the other project for inspiration. It's not that complicated. So you do have the main menu. There's a custom cursor, and you press a really, really small button, and then you get to the thing. And then the camera's moving, there's this score thing, there's some particles, and there's sounds, if you can hear them. Yeah, there's like a little thing. There should also be music playing. I think that's just because there's a piece of code that's commented, which is play the music, and then it was commented out, so that's why it's not playing. So yeah. What do you guys want to code next? I'm at a loss here, honestly. And we could code something that's here or something that doesn't even exist as well. I think. Yeah. Why don't we make like bullet shooting? So we could say take the mouse you click, and then that would be the direction that you would point, and then we'll spawn a bullet thing to go, and we'll play a sound at the same time. So that is what we'll implement next. So let's give it a go. So yeah, we'll need to add more stuff to our input loop. And here we're going to be checking for the mouse input specifically. So I do have in the other one some mouse input stuff, which we can steal. So mouse button down, which is important. So once they press the mouse button, that's when we'll launch the bullet. Right. So yeah, I'll just throw them all up here because it's only going to be one kind of event. So this makes sense. Right. I'll delete that. So if mouse button events, so we want to know like which mouse button, I guess. So we'll say when they shoot, we'll do the left click. So fleets. So in the input events, mouse button. Oh, yeah. Is double click. Interesting. Get button indexed. So that sounds like exactly what we want. So it'll give us a mouse button or something. Maybe that sounds like an enum to me. So so this is me doing my guessing, right? Mouse button. Perfect. So we'd go mouse button left, right? So somewhere in the code, they have a mouse button defined. And there might be a file here called mouse button, maybe. Who knows? Doesn't seem like it. But at any rate, our code is going to look like this. So we're basically going to say if it's mouse. Was it button left? Yeah, and then this function takes no arguments, it just gives us back the button index. So because we're taking guesses here, I'll just try to compile it again to make sure that that's actually what we want, or well, is correct. So, and it's a good practice to just test code often. All right, perfect. And I think the good thing about this example is what's going to happen is we're going to use a feature called instancing, where we're going to have some sort of, in Unity they're called prefabs, and then you can just spawn an instance of them. So we're going to have like a bullet quote unquote prefab, which is like a blueprint, and then it's like the same thing as classes, right? You just have your blueprint and then you can make one. So we'll be like spawn the bullet prefab. And yeah, that worked. So actually, one of the things here we could do, so this is like a fun, I found it really fun to do what I'm about to show, which is a different thing than the bullet, because we want to print. I think printing a hello world would be an intermediate goal here that would be useful for us. So how do we print? So normally you think you would just type print, but because this is a GD extension, it's actually like a little different. And the solution that I came up with in the sample project is a solution. There could be other ones, I'm not sure. But basically what I did, is this the, oh, right, okay. I clicked the wrong Godot thing. So what I did. Actually, wait. Workshop live. So what I did is I created a new child node, and I just made it the most generic possible thing. So node. And then I called this the printer or whatever. And then I went and I attached a script to it. And it was a GD script. So, we'll call it, it'll be called printer.gd. We just use all the defaults here, and then I guess we hit load, and it makes it. So Godot's fun too, because it gives you, it's like a whole IDE. So that's kind of crazy that they did that. And look at that, I can press Control Plus, and it gives me bigger fun. Oh, interesting. So printer.gd, right, that's why it said load. So when I thought I was creating a script, I was actually just loading the thing that was already in my file or my project. So this already exists. Like this is the version you would get. So they'd give you like the ready and the process function. It's a really simple script. I just make a function called myPrint, takes in a string, and then print rich is like a Godot built-in. So I think Godot documentation is also something like a resource that I was using extensively to figure out this stuff. So I think if we search actually, this is the Godot docs, like this page. I suppose if we go there, that's like the root of the page. Getting started, maybe it's the manual. That was the most. Class reference. Yeah, so class reference is good. There's globals, and I think maybe it's here. Because these are the classes. Just trying to find where maybe it's GDScript that you go to. Right, GDScript methods. So this is a large page. And then I think if we search up print rich. Oh. Maybe I think it's global scope methods actually. It's a little confusing. I'm not actually sure what the difference. Yeah. So I'm kind of interested to figure out actually what the difference is here. What's the difference between @GDScript and @global_scope? And I think that's probably a useful question to answer since this is an Intro to Godot workshop. So let's Google it. @global_scope. We might not get any hits. Maybe if we just go to the @global_scope page. My guess is these are script specific, and then this is a global scope that all scripts have access to. But anyways, the point of the exercise was print rich. It's here, and it basically just it takes va_arg or whatever. So that's just a variadic list. So we can give it any amount of arguments, and it will just of like any type as well, and it will automatically print those things for us. So in this case, we're using it really silly, where we're just taking a string and printing that. So it's not really an interesting use case. But anyways, we have this object. And so the solution I did for printing was, how do you interface from GD extensions to a node in the world that is or has a GD script on it? Like, how do I call my print? So it turns out it's actually really, really easy. All you have to do is, if I go in the ready function and I say, let's get the printer. So you go and you call your get node to query an object in the world. So I'll go node. And here, I guess if you haven't noticed already, the way it works is you just give it the name of the node, and then that's how the query works and finds what you want. So we get our printer, and then here, I have to make sure it exists so that we can get it. And then basically down here, so what we're going to do is we're going to have every time we press the left mouse button, it's going to print that the mouse button was printed. So to call that function, it turns out there's a function defined on every node called call, where you just give it the name of the function you want to call, so my print, and then this will call our print function, and then we can give all of the arguments that we want afterwards. And basically, what's going on here, I think, is some like C++ template magic, because normally C and C++ don't allow for, unlike Python. Python does this, and I guess GDScript does. Many scripting languages allow for defining functions that can take a variadic amount of arguments of variable types. In C++ and C, you can do it. It's just ugly. It's really ugly. So the people who made Godot-CPP did a good job with this. So all we have to do is give it a string. So we say left mouse button printed. And so that, now every time I do it, it should work. And then, printf debugging is what we're doing here to make sure our stuff is working. So that's done. Yeah. So, hey, look at that. It says love mouse button printed, and it looks like it's double printing every time I do a single click, right? You can see here, this number is like the amount of things that have been printed. Every time just one click goes up by 2. So that's because it's registering like the down and up. So we don't want to print, what's going to happen if we naively go with this is we're going to send out 2 bullets for every click, which is not what we want. So we actually want to just say, we only want to look at one of those events. So we need to change our if statement. Oh, look at that. There's also a console here. That's so fun. So it's probably the same thing here where we just say, is event is pressed. It's probably that. So let's see. And yeah, but I have to like fully close the editor, build, and then open it again.
Down and up.
Sorry?
Couldn't there's one specifically for down, one specifically for up? Press them both up and down.
Really?
Yeah, I was looking at that last time.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see. Just test it. Is pressed. Because yeah, I thought, because then that means the our movement is registering also for the down and up, which it will still work. It's just not. Oh yeah, because it was moving and I wasn't even doing anything, right? Oh, okay. Yeah. So, huh. Well then, what are we to do? Let's go take a look at the input event again. Yeah, so okay, is action pressed and is action released? That seems like it'll be more what we want. Yeah. Oh. It's fine. I don't have to do that. Open. Oh no. It does not take 0 arguments. Whoa.
It's actually takes the argument of the act.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it does. Takes the action. It's an input event. There's also is released. That might be what we want, maybe. Oh, because maybe actually what's happening, actually, yeah, this might, I think I know what's going on here. Because you have is pressed and is released. So maybe is pressed is, it's like, could be, we could also just look at the documentation. action. Turns true if the input event is pressed. It gives me no extra information. Yeah, you gotta love that documentation where they're like, they just repeat the function name. So I think maybe we just run this. We can't see the player. You know why? Because they're moving still. Just reset that. So they're still moving. Yeah, right. Nothing I do is gonna change. Let's just try a test here. We'll just see if this fixes it. I think what we need to do is say, is it pressed? And then we can go number is released. Right. Wait. Then is pressed. I mean, that kind of looks a little. So we could just say press true. Otherwise. Yeah. Actually, I think this is it's more like an if, because they both can't be true. Right, pressed. Yeah, no, honestly, hold on. If is least be pressed. Okay, we'll try that. Oh, I just misspelled it. Huh. Oh, we still have the is action press down here. All right, that's done. This so they're still going down, but that's just because that's the way it is. But if we yeah, I was hoping that when I release A, it does what we need. Oh, you did?
So, do you know how the Unity input system works?
Yeah.
Where you find, like, say W is, or say space bar is the jump action.
Yes.
The is action press and is action release.
That kind of.
Oh,
Okay.
and it happens in your settings finds what buttons are into the actions.
Okay. Yeah. Although, like that will work. I feel like this will also work if we finagle it.
What I would do in GDScript, like I never used plus one.
Yeah.
But what I would do in GDScript is not use the input function. I would in the
Yeah.
process function use is action pressed on a input map. Like on the input map name, and then
Okay.
so I can just use that if statement, and then if it is, then I will. I don't know. Oh, no, I don't have decision.
Okay, so maybe we set up an input map then. Um, is that in like project settings?
Yes. Second top.
Input map. Yay. Okay, so yeah, we'll do that. We'll say add new action. I guess we give it a name. Just say go left. And then hmm,
Didn't show build layer.
oh,
Oh, yeah, you can just use the.
oh right, we could just not add one. Yeah. So looks like there's filter by name A for like instead left. UI text correct left. UI left.
And once in a while, WASD. But you can.
Yeah. Key. A. A indeed. Physical A. Go left. Dead zone 0.5. All right. So then we can use the is action pressed. Although interestingly, the event is action pressed is really weird. Is an action. I guess you have to say. So if the um, yeah, we'll just don't forget about this. Actually, it's fine to put that there. Hmm. If set position, yeah. Can also oh right. So all we have to do really is say this. Yeah. So no is action. Oh, it wants. Oh, okay. Forget that. This one. Still going. Good. So, oh, hey, look at that. Go underscore left.
Or
Ah, look at this. Okay. I was like, so sad. I mean, we might still be sad, but at least we found an issue. All right. Okay, so if we, hey, that worked. Nice. All right, I like. Good. So for the left mouse button, we can probably do something pretty similar. Say is pressed. How is that working though right now? Did that like actually work? Well, this is working too also, the is pressed. It's like one click gets one print. So that works too. All right, so now I think what we need to do is get the position of the mouse so that we can get our little vector thing. And so the position of the mouse, I believe it's also, it had some, it was in the code here, kind of like, well, this is mouse motion. Oh yeah, right, position. So if you ever move the mouse, every time we move the mouse, it gives us the new position. So this be what we want. Chip example. Swell. Then there's two messages in Discord. Not the input yet. Oh. Oh, I see. Okay. Elfkin plus. Gotcha. All right. If event is inputs. Right. So if we got a motion, then we can print. Thing. Viewport resolution. I guess, I don't know, this would be nice if that works. We'll see about that. Okay, so if we want to do something like this, we need to do some string formatting, and in C++, the way to do that is you use this function called sprintf, and you just give it what's called a format string. So like the event position is a vector, so there's going to be two numbers here. So we do something like that, and then you just give it, I think, like something like that. And sprintf as a function, it needs somewhere to output the string that we just made. So do that. And then we just give it the string. That's so. Close builds. Oh no. Okay, so yeah, we still need to include another file. So here, input events, we need like input event mouse motion. So this position is not a member of input event, so I have to figure out how to get the position from the mouse thing. So position is not really here. It might be in the mouse motion one. So here, right? Look at that. We can get the tilt. Get relative sounds like what we want, because you also have tilt. I don't know what tilt does. Might want to Google. The relative position, the absolute position, and the velocity. The tilt. The angle of tilt of the pen, that's crazy. So this is relative to the previous position. So this would give us a delta. It just said absolute motion. The absolute position. Properties. Yeah, they say we can get the output. They say we can get the position, but it seems like we can't. So we're trying here. Yeah, it's not really going to work. What if there's... There we go. So if we go input event mouse, it says get position. So we're actually just looking at the wrong one, which kind of makes sense because it's a motion. So if we just go input event mouse. So we'll still call it that. And we need to change our include. And then I guess we need to go here. Get position. Right. Vector 2D. So that's because it's not a 2D. It's just vector 2. I think vector 2D is a Unity thing. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I love the Godot logo. Much better than the Unity one. So I think we were just testing that we could get the position. Oh my gosh. Oh, right. Okay, so we're going to get mouse events every time we move the mouse, which is a lot of events. But 0, 0 over here, the extent of the window over here. So it looks all good to me. They're still moving, which is weird. Reset. Oh, wait, what? So they're moving ever so slightly. And then when I hold A, they go much faster. But when I let go, they're really slow. But you can still see in the editor window that they're moving. So what the heck is going on? That's kind of weird. What? Hmm. It's pretty weird, right? It's not like I, gave them a velocity or anything like that.
Is there gravity?
Well, there is, but we didn't give the player like a rigid body, so they wouldn't be reacting to gravity. Hmm. Well, that's really weird. Huh. There might be, yeah, not sure.
That still must be true every once in a while, obviously. Oh my God.
Yeah, that would give you a much slower rate, right? If like every couple frames or something. We could verify that by like doing some printing and just be like, layer move. Oh yeah, so player moved is being printed a lot, but why don't I see this? So I guess they're at 0. Oh yeah.
I think we're gonna be kind of.
Well, now they're no longer moving,
It's just technically opposite of one.
which is detecting the opposite. What do you mean the opposite?
And waterpress is wrong.
Oh, no, it's because yeah, whenever I print, like if we look at the number of prints, right now they're like static, but as soon as I press A, they start going up. So that so like it's working as expected right now. Um, but now, you know, yeah, I mean we could just like table this, but put a comment to remind ourselves that we saw some really weird action going on.
But like delayed by a second. It's like the more you press it, the more events it keeps going like after a while.
Really?
So they must be like running different instances of the same function over and over again.
Uh-huh.
It's in 4 minutes.
I think is it does it seem faster on your screen than the projector? Like it might just be laggy.
Okay, so a bunch of them pop up all at once. It's like delayed.
Well, what you guys are seeing, like if the projector's laggy, you're still seeing like the full screen, just like one of my screens just later. So there wouldn't be a delta between like
Oh, that's I'm sorry.
yeah, this is unclear.
Really? This next time?
Yeah. So yeah, maybe I figured that out. But looking back here, so we have our mouse things. Now I suppose we could spawn the bullets. Because we don't, because getting the vector isn't too difficult. I mean, like, I think, right. So what we want to do is every time we get, what we can do, I guess, so, because here we're going to need the mouse position. So let's just assume there's a thing. Let's just assume there exists something called this mouse position. So we would just want to set that up here. Do I go at like this one? Yeah. So yeah, here's where we would spawn it. So to get like the dir, we just do some vector math. And I guess it would be the mouse because the ray is going, I mean, we can draw it, I guess. It's pretty, you know. Here's the P. Here's the mouse. And then if we want this, let's say there's like 0 draw here. P M. Here, wait, how do I do that one? Wait. I want it, you know what? We'll just call that R. Right? We just take M minus P. So call that R. So vector math. So that's what we're doing. And then I guess the player would just have to go get position. And so this direction won't be normalized, so we need to normalize it, which actually turns out, I think this works in C++. I think I can do that. I'm not sure. If I can call the dot operator on like something in parentheses, let's see. I just want to see if that compiles. Mouse pause is not a member. Oh, misspelled. This. What? Oh, 63. Yeah, so, oh, wait, that did work. So that does work as syntax, but that was just like the wrong thing to write anyways. We just want to say dir is dir divided by dir.length. So we'll shoot the bullet in that direction. Now we need to kind of figure out how to make the whole prefab instance idea that I talked about. So it'll be like a sprite kind of thing. That I rename bullet. For now, let's just use this. So our bullets will be these little pellet things. And then, which is kind of nice. So what I'm trying to figure out is if one of these menu items is like, make this node a prefab. So,
Save branches. Okay.
save branches.
So yeah, I'll make like a new file that's called bullet, or whatever you want to call it.
Save new scenes. It looks like it's making a new scene, actually.
That's how Godot works.
Oh,
Like like prefab is like you can take the prefab and then put it into other like scenes. You've got like your bullet file.
yeah.
Yeah, Godot doesn't do anything about things. And
Sorry, you just said Godot doesn't do anything.
anything but like TSCN files. So like if
Ah,
you want to save a bullet as
right. Okay. So all prefabs are scene trees.
yes, and then you just instantiate the
Yeah.
like the scene file inside of your other scene files.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. That's perfect. So yeah, I think we have the bullet scene. I guess if we open it, we just have our bullet, so it's perfect. So we can delete it here, delete node bullet. So I think all we really have to do is be like instantiate. Oops. So I think I'm pretty sure it's kind of like, I don't know if it's that. We would want to make it. I'm gonna go check the code I have on GitHub. Pretty sure I did. Or actually, what we had was it was in one of the GD files. So in the button one, that because I had the button changed between the scenes. So you would go get tree and then change scene to a file. So I guess it might be get tree. Maybe. It doesn't appear like it's there. There is a scene tree HPP here. Get root. Just scene tree extends on main loop. Okay. Well, we could probably then might also be that Same tree. I'm really not sure. So let's go to the docs. So we would load, and then all you would do is once you load the thing, you go .instantiate, and then the add child instance. Okay. So I'm just going to transpose this to our GD extension version then. So the load, it looks like we probably load that in the begin, or in the ready rather. We don't want to load that like a million times. So this will be the bullet scene, and then called it bullet scene. I guess it might take on a scene tree. I'm not sure, but we can effectively, since I don't really know what type it's going to be, I'm just going to go like that. It's generic one, bullet scene. This is actually going to be fun. I'm really excited to see this bullet go. So we go here, we go bullet scene, and we're just going to go. So the good thing is that all we have to do is say, if you want to call any one of the functions, you just do the call, and it will work. This is like a hacky way if you're writing a GD extension, because it's kind of like this. Because we have the strong types, so it's probably always preferred to, instead of saying that our thing is a node, put what the specific type is. This is like the lazy way to do it. I think this will work though. And so then here we kind of get our instance. It's interesting. Not sure if that'll work. And then we would just need to go and add childs. So it might work. I might also be able to call add child to me, the instance. Let's see. Yeah. All right. And then, I suppose what we would want is we could make a bullet script, and then on the bullet, have its process move it. And then all we would have to do is set some sort of direction from here on into it, right? So we've got to open up Godot. All right, so we have like 4 minutes. Can it be done? No. So open up bullet scene, bullet, add script, bullet scene GD, perfect. Process. All we got to do, set position to the get position. You know what? This is like the same thing as what we did in here. So let's steal it. Except we got to get rid of all this stuff. And so the mover, I guess, would be up here. Right. I think it's like, that. Or something like that. A mechanism or something. Is this a comment? Yeah. So mover would exist. Delta's good. Speed. Right. Does that work? Why don't we just let it be 2? It's probably that.
Could you space?
Space? Oh, right. Because it is like, well, it's also because movedir doesn't exist. Oh, wait. Yeah, so I know there's a way to like expose variables, these scripts. So you know?
Forget, I've done it very, oh, like, oh,
Introduction. Let's see. So like GD scripts, global, variable, Godot engine. No, that's not what I want. It's like so bright. Oh, you would just go var. Right? Think. Parser. Oh yeah, we're still getting those mixed usages. So, okay. Speed. Right, so here we would need to do the var thing. All right, so that would do. And then I guess what we're going to do is from the C++, we'll try to set the move dir on our bullet. So instance. Now, it's probably a way to do this here. It's the way I figured out that there was a call in the first place was I basically Googled and I found this one forum post. So I think Googling might yield what this is here. Alternatively, there are like, not that one, like object. Because that's the CPP, you probably want the HPP. Ah, yes, there it is. Ooh, get. It's probably the get, because I guess the call is in here, maybe. This is where the call actually is. So this object class, I guess everything, I think this is like the base. Everything extends from object. So all we would probably have to do is to go get. Luckily, I know what a variant is, which is just this kind of class that can be anything. It's like an any type. But it's more where the any type, I think, is sort of primitive types. So it's like ints, floats, maybe strings. So we want to set, and we can make a variant. We're going to set move there. Let's make a variant. And then all you have to do is give it the dir. So that should. Oh no, I just spelled it like that on the Godot side. Yeah, if there's a get, there's a set, right? Yeah. All right. File time. Yeah.
Because it like you file with like a one correct mistake.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it says load not found. 14. What? Yeah, wait, let's read that again. CPP, line 14. Oh. Right. So guess the load function doesn't exist. Cannot convert from variant to node pointer. Interesting. All right. Oh, it's on line 65. So this gives us a variant, I guess. Instance. Okay, that's cool. So we'll fix that one. And then, yeah, so our only issue is we don't know what the load function is. So, GD extension load scene. Yeah. Apparently it used to be called GD native. So I see these like blog posts 5 years ago. So apparently there's this guy. Oh no. A resource loader. All right. Get singleton. Details. Okay. We probably need to include something. I'll take a resource loader. Look at that. We could take a peek in there too if we wanted. I guess it has the get singleton. So there you go. Oh no. Expected an expression instead of a type. Line 14. Bullet scene. Load says takes a path. That's about it. Not sure what's wrong there. Is there a template? Reference to a resource. Ah, okay. Makes sense. So bullet scene, it looks like bullet scene is not a node. It's one of these. Yeah, to resource. And so when we go, maybe we can still call that on the resource. Huh. Variant 67. Right. I think from the yeah, this is damn. Show the variants. Right. So we can pull from a variant any of these kinds of things. So we could get a pointer to an object. So we can probably think would probably set that, and then still don't know what's going on with the resource loader, but hopefully that fixes these issues. Let's go. Cannot convert variant. Okay, so it fails here. I basically want to call object. All right, we're gonna do this. Whoa, what did I do? Where was I? I was here. Okay, interesting. That looks like it worked. So just this one. That's so weird. Because this thing, go back here, right? Get this. Maybe not sure. Let's hope. Actually, okay. So I did that wrong. How many CPU cores? Bro, that's insane. The stack computer. Yeah, wow. Where's that? Crazy. Up to pointer, then call load. Give it the thing. Yeah. Well, we can call it officially ended, right? I just want it to work personally. So yeah. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're going to use ChatGPT. Maybe I'll use Queen's game. Really? So we take the error, right? All right. So this error message, so it says you should use it as a singleton. Oh, yes. I'm so stupid, guys. Look, I should have used the double semicolon because I'm accessing a static method, obviously. So, it's just syntax error there. All right, it built. Does bullet happen? Do they shoot? Should spawn one every time I click. They might move really slow. I almost anticipate. Okay. Oh, that's a bullet. And it's moving. Is it moving in the right direction though? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, so slow. Okay, they're all like, that's so not the correct direction. Damn. Hmm. What could be wrong? It's 16 by 16. Yeah. I think the bullet is, yeah. Well, the sprite, oh yeah. Because I didn't, I guess if we go to the bullet scene,
The origin is actually the top level for. So your vector map is always going to put its in a direction that the 0, 0 is in the middle.
yeah, yeah.
So it's going to go in the right direction.
Well,
Isn't the character of the original?
Well, the character is at center of the screen. The center of the screen is the origin.
well, yeah. The character's chilling here, right? But the vector math that was done.
Instead of the actual fourth.
Yeah. Oh, right. So yes, I see. So the screen court, yeah. So there's two different court. Yes, you're right. Okay. Problem solved. Okay.
Why it's sucking slow.
Yeah.
That might be slow by by window size.
Yeah, so basically we need to transform then. And we transform either one of them into the other coordinate system. So maybe we take the mouse position and we say Basically, it's just like add it, or rather, yeah, it's minus. So it would be oh, yeah, and then we would need to know this sort of screen dimensions, right? Luckily, I have that in the code. Um, I think it's okay. It's not this one. Here's the Google I want. Yeah, I just closed everything. So because one of the things I had in this code was there was this platform at the bottom, and programmatically I gave it. Oh, right, okay. Well, programmatically I basically gave it a collision, like I put a collision box on it that was the same width as the sprite, um, which is the code I was just about to find, and I realized that's not the width and height of the screen. That's a different width and height. Okay, but like we could do this, but we know it would work, right?
It prints the message vision in the when you run the program.
Yeah, you know what? We don't need to be correct about this. We can just hard code in the values. Yeah. And so and then yeah, they're actually, those values are basically here. So it's 1152 and then 648. So now it's in player space like that. And then I guess what we could do while we're at it is give it more speed. So, because that was really slow. It was like incredibly slow. Like the speed is 2. This is like 2 pixels every second. So it should be more like 200 pixels every second. Right. So, not the no. Yay! It works. Amazing. They never despawn. Right? I'm pretty sure there's just a lot of them now. Yeah. So if we were good, we would have them despawn. Okay, perfect. So this code is all different. Yeah. Workshop is up. I'm just gonna commit it to GitHub now. But yeah, that's everything. Thank you guys for coming out. Yeah. Thank you.